This is a very unique transmission that I'm going to do today. And so I just invite you to first ground yourselves and then open your hearts to see what Prime Creator has to say about this topic. This is a sensitive topic. This is going to be, the energy of this video and this transmission is going to be intense. And so I invite you to just ground yourselves, open your hearts, take what is for you, discern what's for you, and leave the rest behind.
Could you please describe the nature and the power of sexual energy in humans?
Dear one, it is one of the most pure energies and also one of the most co-opted or infiltrated or contaminated energies functioning within the human being. It is very powerful because it has abilities to heal, to awaken, to transmute and transform. It is a very powerful grounding energy. And yet, because it has been so co-opted, it is also potentially one of the most harmful energies when the power is misused. It is one of the most inverted energies in the human being. And it does have the power to destroy the human, to cause psychosis in the human, to cause disease, to disrupt human energy flows. It can be directly plugged into source, or it can be inverted and diverted and cause energies from the shadow to flow into the human. So it is one of the most polarity inducing energies and an energy that is most susceptible to the polarity paradigm in your universe. As I said, its true nature is very pure. Its true nature is very powerful. Its true nature is light. This energy is often associated with the color red. This is, to some degree, part of the inversion of this energy, because the true nature of the sexual energy is pure light. This energy is often associated with serpent energy, and this usually carries a negative connotation. When the serpent energy is used to deceive, this is an inversion of the true purpose of the serpent, because the true purpose is transmutation, transformation. And this can be connected to source and can be flowing through the human with pure light. The serpent can be the Christed light energy, but it is not very often associated in this way. It is more commonly viewed as the deceiver, such as in the Adam and Eve story. And this is the shadow inversion energy of the serpent and the sexual energy. There are many places within your universe where the sexual energy has been co-opted or stolen from humans and diverted and plugged into. So instead of the sexual energy being plugged directly into source, there is much sexual energy that is plugged into Mars, that is plugged into many other shadow places within your universe. And I will not go too deeply into all of these because it is not necessary for the understanding of this message. But simply know that there are many places where the sexual energy is plugged in. And multidimensionally speaking, this is why there is so much addictive energy with humans and sex. This is why there is so much distortion around humans and sex. This is why it is so challenging for some humans to break addictions, to release attachment to sexual connection. This is why many humans want to have sex with many people or to have a lot of sex, because it connects them to something beyond themselves. And every human wants to feel connected. Every human wants to exchange energy with another. But oftentimes this connection is misdirected. And what the human connects to is not from the light. So if a human wants to heal their addictions to sex or pornography or whatever the attachment is, the human must first connect to their own soul essence and to their own source and to the source of all that is. Because this will be the only true place from which they have the energy exchange that they are actually seeking. This is a very important point to understand, because anything less than source connection will come with a distortion. Now, this does not mean that humans cannot come together and have sexual relationships with each other. But what I am saying is anything that is unhealed within those humans will be amplified through the sexual exchange. And anytime humans come together that are more directly connected to source, more light will flow through their sexual exchange. And so the goal for all sexual unions should be more light connection, more source connection, and more generating of the light together. Each person connected to source first, and then coming together, connecting to source together, and then engaging in the sexual relationship and energy exchange. This is the ideal interaction for humans who want to be connected to the light, who want to be operating from the light instead of any distortion, inversion, or shadow forces.
Is Kundalini energy different than sexual energy?
Everything that I have just shared is applicable to the Kundalini energy as well. The concept of the Kundalini energy was something brought in by the shadow forces. It is a type of overlay on the human central channel. But it does not need to be used in this way. So, dear ones, anytime the shadow forces puts an overlay on the human, it can be used to flow light as well. It can be turned into something that is used for the light. So the Kundalini can be used as a tool for the light flow up the spine and running through the central channel. It is a bit different from the sexual energy in the sense that it did not originate from the purity of the sexual energy. But it is the same in that it is a form of sexual energy that works with humans. And this channel is asking, what is a Kundalini awakening? It depends upon the person that is experiencing this. Because if the person is not serving the light, the Kundalini energy can overtake the person and it can harm the person, or it can be used to harm others. It can be an energy overlay that begins running through that person. But if the person is serving the light and understands that the energy running through them can be in service to the light, then they can take this energy that is moving up the spine and use it to heal the body, use it to heal the mind, use it to facilitate healing for others. It can be an additional energy flow for that person and for the service of the greater good. And so the definition depends on how the person uses it.
Then where did the term or concept of Kundalini originate if it did not come from the light?
It came from the Anunnaki and several other races that were experimenting with how to take energy from humans, how to siphon energy from humans. And they were able to through breeding with humans, they were able to place this overlay in the energy field of some humans until it became dispersed into the collective energy field of humans. It is now a template that humans can engage in. It was a way of harvesting the potent, powerful, pure sexual energy. It was a way of garnering creation energy, because the sexual energy is an energy of creation. These beings wanted more power to create. So this was a way of boosting their own creation energy.
Okay, thank you. So if this overlay that is now a template is being run, How are we to consciously direct the sexual energy flowing through the template of the Kundalini directly to source and as pure as possible?
Thank you, dear one. What the human can do is to set that intention to connect directly with source. To cultivate, each human must cultivate their own direct connection to source. And when that connection is established and cultivated, then source light can be run through the Kundalini channel, or the central channel, as I referenced earlier. It is also very important in this process that the source light combine with each soul essence within each human. This will be the most powerful combination of light that can be run through the central channel of the human.
If you could just repeat that last phrase you just said.
When source light is combined with the soul essence of each human, the Kundalini channel, or the central channel within each human, can be used as a portal, as a channel for this light energy to flow. It is the greatest combination of light that can be flowed through a human.
Which chakra is responsible for maintaining sexual energy?
They all are, dear one. Because when a human becomes activated with their sexual energy, it runs through the entire body. It runs through the physical body, emotional bodies, subtle bodies, light bodies, mental bodies, etc. It runs through the entire multidimensional beingness of the human. And so there is no chakra that is responsible. Often the understanding is that sexual energy comes from the root, because that is where the genitals are. But the truth of the matter, dear one, is that each part of the human contains the DNA codes for sexual energy. Each part of the human contains receptors and channels and portals for the sexual energy to be embodied, to be channeled through. So as an example, the mind can be a channel for sexual energy. The mind can channel sexual energy, and the mind can be a channel for sexual energy. Through the intention of the mind, sexual energy can be embodied there and can be a channel for it. This channel is asking if I can give a better understanding of how this works. I'm using the example of the mind, dear ones, because for humans, the mind is very powerful. The intention of the mind can direct energy. It can hold or embody energy. It can flow energy. And so the mind can be a responsible center or portal for sexual energy because of its power. The same could be said of the heart, the solar plexus, the sacrum, etc. But I am using the example of the mind because humans are often stuck there, or they often are out of balance in their mind. So the mind can have influence over sexual energy, or the mind can simply be a portal where sexual energy flows through and provides restoration and balance.
My next question was answered, but I will reference something else. So this is part of the next question. I was shown a convex and concave clear contact lens looking thing hovering above the base of the spine. And I saw that energy was being siphoned out of that. How can we best protect that area? And does that area have a name that we don't know of?
The best protection, dear one, is to connect it directly to source and your own soul essence. Because when this is connected to source, and when energy is flowed from source and combined with your own soul essence, there is a strength, there is a power, there is a frequency in this connection that is very difficult to be infiltrated. The shadow beings do not want to be close to source. They like the power of it, they like the energy of it, but in order for them to take source energy, they must invert it, they must distort it. So it is of a frequency that they can manage. And so when you maintain that frequency of direct source connection, it is very difficult for infiltration. You've asked if there is a name for this place. It is known by different names, dear one. But I will say this, if you refer to it as a source portal, the frequency of this name in and of itself will offer codes, energy signatures, and some protection.
How sexual energy can be used to heal the body, and if so, how can this be done in detail?
When the sexual energy is plugged into source, and further when it is combined with the human's own soul essence, there is unlimited power and light in this connection and in this flow. When the human consciously, with intention, flows this energy through the body with the intention to heal and balance and restore the body, there is great power in this, dear ones. So this has to do with intention first, taking time and space to cultivate this connection, or these connections to source and the human's own soul essence. And then work to flow the energies through the body. Now, when the human is deliberate and conscious about this, things will come to the surface for the human to address. Shadow energies that have been embodied by the human over lifetimes, shadow templates and implants that have been placed within the human, shadow grids that have been placed over or within the human, belief systems, shadow programs, shadow patterning within the human. Remember, dear ones, this is a very powerful, potent energy. So when this is flowed through the human, these things will come to the surface to be addressed, because the energies of source light and soul essence cannot cohabitate with the shadow forces and frequencies. They cannot be in the same space together for healing to occur. Now, this channel is reminding me of when I said that parallel universes and parallel timelines are coming together, and you will be able to coexist with different frequencies. And yes, dear ones, this is different than when you are flowing a frequency through you. It is one thing to be in the same room with another frequency. It is a different thing to flow it through your central channel. So I hope you can understand the distinction, dear ones. As these things come to the surface and the human addresses and heals them, then there is more space created within the human for the source light to flow, and then spontaneous healing in the body can occur. It is very difficult for healing within the body, and I'm speaking emotional body, physical body, mental bodies, etc. It is difficult for source light to flow and be embodied by the human when other frequencies are taking space. And so these shadow frequencies must come to the light. They must come to the surface and be addressed and healed in order for the physical, emotional, mental healing, trauma healing to occur for the human. It is all part of the same process. It is all part of the same journey. Shadow comes to light. Shadow is transmuted. Healing in the body occurs.
Are there any physical movements or practices that would be able to best assist those who choose to consciously improve their sexual health? This is pertaining to all bodies and aspects of the self.
Yes, dear one, beautiful question. And this depends upon each one. I will say this, in general, any type of physical movement will assist. Because any type of physical movement, whether it is stretching, yoga, running, boxing in the gym, weightlifting, whatever it is, any type of physical movement will help to flow the energy. And so whatever movement the human is able to do or feels good to them is good for the human to engage in. The idea is to have physical movement. Because the human is a physical form, physical movement must be part of the human experience. And so there is no one size fits all prescription here. It is based on each human, what they enjoy, what they are able to do physically, what they are comfortable with, and whatever helps to move energy through the body, this is what would be helpful.
Thank you. Just going on that, a little clarification. So, taking the energy of shame, for example, could someone just lightly dance and move the energy of shame out of their body very gracefully, very easily, and very quickly with pure intention and connection to source? Okay, wonderful. The next question I have would be, okay, if you could describe the energy exchange that happens during sex.
This is a multidimensional experience. And depending upon the level of activation and awareness of the humans engaging in sex, the experience will be different. For some, they are aware only of the human level of energy exchange. For others, they are aware of cosmic energy exchange, as they might call it. Whether the awareness is there or not This is happening at a multidimensional level, but if the multidimensional aspects are not activated, then the impact in the multidimensional space is not as significant. So as an example, for humans that are only aware of the human aspect, they are very much functioning only within the human paradigm, it will mostly impact their human experience. For those who are very aware of their multidimensional aspects, their cosmic connections, their source connections, when they exchange sexual energy, they will have a much deeper, more expanded experience of the exchange. For those humans who are operating very much from the shadow aspect, there will be an amplification and exchange of shadow energy. For those who are connected to the light and to source, there will be an amplification and exchange of the light energy. Regardless of the connection, there is a creation that occurs each time there is a sexual energy exchange. There are, let us use the example of when two people come together. There are two people involved, two energies. When these energies come together, a third energy is born. And whether a physical baby comes out of this exchange or not is irrelevant. There is a creation. And so each time these two beings come together, there are more creations. And each creation, because it is the same two people coming together in this example, each creation is amplified, it coalesces and comes together with the other creations and creates a type of morphogenetic field. It creates a container, so to speak, for those two beings. So as an example, when two beings are lovingly coming together through the sexual energy, each time they come together, more love is placed in this container. More love is created between them. And if they have a fight outside of sex, there is that container that can hold them, that can hold their relationship. Now, let's say two beings come together in anger and they have sex with each other. There is a creation of anger energy that is born between them. And if they continually have sex out of anger, then that is the container that is created that holds them, so to speak. And eventually, that container or creation of anger energy can destroy them in some senses. And so it is very important for humans to come together consciously when they exchange sexual energy, because it is the energy of creation. It is important that they purify themselves before coming together. It is important that they come together with intention, so that what is born between the two of them is something that sustains and heals and serves the light. Because the light can be amplified or the shadow can be amplified, as I said. Now, let's say that a third person joins this sexual exchange. It is the same concept where that other energy will be birthed from the three of them. Then there will be a fourth energy, a coalescing of the energies of the three people that comes together, that forms a creation. And so whether it is 2 people or whether it is an orgy of 10 people, there is a creation that is birthed out of this energy exchange. Now, to some degree, this happens also outside of the sexual energy exchange. If a group of people comes together in prayer, without the energy of sexual exchange, creations are birthed out of this as well. But there is a potency to the sexual energy, as I have mentioned before, that amplifies whatever the people are creating together.
There are so many things, I would say fetishes or thoughts that we've been told to just go with. But my question is, if these are shadow aspects coming to be healed because the person is aware and they're consciously connecting into source, but these things are coming up, things that you would think are bad, like a domination or, kind of abusive things, just fetishes. What are we to do with these shadow aspects? Are we to completely ignore them and push them down? Or are we to heal them through being connected to source and pure light? Is that possible? And if so, how?
Yes, dear one, it is possible to heal these, and you do not want to suppress these or push these down or push them away or try to hide them, because that only amplifies the shadow. If these things are coming from the shadow, then the important thing, again, is to cultivate the connection with source and the human's own soul essence, because in doing so, it will strengthen the light and heal and dissolve the shadow. It is important for humans not to judge themselves in these things in the sense that they are making themselves wrong or to feel bad about themselves, because that also amplifies the shadow. But it is equally important for the human to recognize what serves the light and what does not. And if it does not serve the light, to cultivate their connection with source and their soul essence, and to work on flowing more light through them, and to integrate this shadow. Yes, many of these fetishes, as you say, are implants, are grid overlays, are programs that are running through the human and have been placed on humans.
In essence, if we are consciously connecting every day more and more to our own essence and to source directly, it is possible and very likely that these fetishes will just gently fall away and we will be able to feel what the purity of this expression truly is.
Dear one, these things may not always gently fall away. Depends upon the human's commitment to their soul energy and to source energy, and how much work they're willing to do on themselves. Because these overlays, these implants are very powerful because they are using the sexual energy. They are more powerful than some other types of implants and programs. And so it is not always a gentle process, because the shadow forces will fight back, so to speak, to attempt to keep that connection to the human source of power. So it will take a tremendous amount of discipline and dedication from the being attempting to reorient themselves back to the light.
So there's a difference between discipline and suppression. So self-discipline is not suppressing, correct?
Correct, dear one. Suppression is ignoring, attempting to push down, attempting to not pay attention to, attempting to avoid, bypassing. Discipline is confronting and facing head on, allowing the full shadow to come into the light, allowing the full knowledge of what has been happening to be exposed to the human understanding, and then bringing in the light to transmute what has been occurring.
So that doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be action taken on these thoughts or these overlays. And if correct,
first and foremost, the most important action to be taken is to connect to source and to the soul essence. Second, it is important for the human to claim their sovereign space, to claim their body as their temple for the light, and to do revocations on the shadow grids, the shadow programs, the shadow templates, etc. These actions can also be important. However, if revocations are done and the connection to source light is not done, then they will not have much lasting effect.
how can partners use sex to create what they desire?
As I have mentioned earlier with the sexual exchange conversation, that the sexual exchange energy is creation energy. What the partners can do is to place in their morphogenetic field their intentions of what they want to create together, and then come together from the highest space of love and connection that they can, and to, as they make love, as they come together in the sexual exchange, to hold this vision for their creations. And this will send a powerful, potent message to the energy field, into the universe. They can call upon the light to join them in their sexual union. They can call upon the light to amplify their creations. And this will be a very powerful way to create together.
After having sex with someone, how long does it take to release the energy of the other person?
This depends upon several factors, dear ones. One factor is if they have had sex only once, or if they have had a 10-year-long relationship of having sex, as an example. So if they have had sex only once, the energy can be released fairly quickly, within a week or so. If they have had a long-term sexual relationship, it can take much longer. This also depends on how multidimensionally activated each partner is. This depends on each person's ability to release energies from their being. So if someone is very well versed in releasing energies from their being, then it can be a faster process. It is hard to say or give an amount of time because there are so many factors involved in how long it might take. It could take a day, it could take 10 years. It depends upon if the person is holding on or surrendering and letting go. It depends on levels of attachment to the person, whether they are healthy attachments, codependent attachments. There are many attachments that can be formed during sex. This depends upon the person's willingness to let go and release the other person's energies. This depends on how merged the two beings became during their sexual relationship. So, for example, some people have sex and they are not open. Their energy centers aren't open. They are very guarded and protective of themselves. And so there is not a very deep merge. Some people come together. They are wide open. They surrender to each other. They merge with each other multidimensionally, as the most extreme example. And so it depends on how merged these two beings were. It can also depend on if they were amplifying shadow energies or light energies. As an example, two beings who were combining and amplifying shadow energies, it is often more difficult to release those energies because they are like hooks within the human being. But the light does not hook into human beings. So two beings that came together from the light, it is easier for them to release each other's energy because they simply connect back into source and their own soul essence and restore and reestablish that flow, even if they were highly merged at the multidimensional levels. And then it is easier for them to release each other's energies from their beings.
How much of our energy is influenced, limited, or blocked by baggage from past sexual encounters, and what is the best way to release these energies?
I have answered the second part of this question, so I will address the first part of this question. And this depends upon the person. This depends upon what type of sexual exchange there was. So as I have explained, depending on whether there was shadow energy exchanged or light energy exchange, depends on how much this contributes to any blockages within the person.
What effect does pornography have on our sexual energy and energy in general?
99.9% of the time, dear ones, this is a harmful energy for the person viewing the pornography and for the persons involved in the exhibition of pornography. It generally does not come from the light. It is generally not used to amplify the light. And so it perpetuates shadow sexual energy. And in this amplification of shadow energy, this moves into the collective grid. This distorts the purity that sexual energy can be. And because it is normalized in places of influence, such as podcasts or from therapists or people who don't want to feel bad about their pornography addictions, it is normalized to be something that is okay. But the reality is, dear ones, that this energy rarely edifies anyone, and it is a way of siphoning energy from the humans involved and from the human collective. It is a way of siphoning the precious sexual energy to feed the shadow forces and give them their false power.
If someone masturbates fantasizing about someone, how does it affect the other person and the person masturbating?
It depends upon the energy that is brought through the masturbation. For example, and this goes back to what we discussed earlier, if the person is bringing through source light energy, it can have a positive effect on the person being fantasized about and the person masturbating. And conversely, if the person is bringing through shadow energy, it can have a negative effect on both parties. It is also important, dear ones, to recognize that it will have an effect. And this is the bottom line. The person masturbating is not the only one affected. The person being fantasized about is connected energetically to that person, and so there will be an effect on that person. And it is inappropriate to fantasize about someone without their expressed human permission. So, to be very clear, someone might ask another human's permission in the energetic realms and receive a yes from that being, but that is not the same as speaking directly to the person, human to human, and getting their human aspect to give permission and to give a yes. Because you are in human form, you must respect the human aspect always. This is where the permission must come from, not from their energetic aspect only. It is a very, I will use the terms dangerous game. It is a dangerous game to play, to fantasize about someone without their permission. Because it is a misuse of your mental energy. It is a misuse of your creativity. It is better for the human to connect to their own essence and to source light when masturbating. This is the ultimate. This is the best way to do this. Or if the human is wanting to experience a certain thing. For example, if a man is wanting to connect to the divine feminine, he can ask for that energy to show up, but to not think about anyone specifically. Or if a woman is wanting to connect to the divine masculine energy, she can ask for that energy to show up in her masturbation session. And the ultimate is to connect to source, because this is the balanced polarity of masculine and feminine. This is the most potent form of light that the human can experience. Now, this takes much discipline of the mind. This takes much cultivation and connection to source light and soul essence. I'm simply sharing with you the ultimate way to do this.
Since this is probably one of the most important topics for the collective, the best way to start a cultivation practice to source energy is through intention. Is that right?
Through intention, yes, and through whatever environmental supports a human can engage in. So, for example, if the human can find a quiet, peaceful space and to light a candle or burn some sage, if the human can go into nature and go into a body of water or sit on a rock. Nature has many source codes and source connections that can be very helpful to bring a physicality to source connection. And so whatever environmental supports a human can enroll, this can be of great assistance as well, in addition to their intention. I will also say, dear ones, that the breath is very important in this. Especially as the human begins to cultivate more source connection, the breath can be used to move source energy, soul, light energy through the body. So, as an example, if the human is wanting to gain third eye vision, they can bring source light energy into their third eye. If this human is wanting to heal their heart, they can bring source light energy into the heart. And again, remembering that when this is done, any shadow containment within the human will come to the surface for the human to address, heal, and integrate.
Just going on that, are there any specific breath work techniques that would be extremely helpful?
If the human has proper support environmentally from a practitioner, some intensity with the breath can be used. But I add a caution to this because intensity of breath work, moving breath into different places in the body, if the human is not ready to deal with what comes to the surface, it can cause psychosis, it can exacerbate the shadow force or the physical illness or condition. And so this must be done with proper support, whether it is from an environment, a practitioner, an experienced friend who knows how to deal with what may come up. Generally, it is better for gentle breathing for most people. But there are a few who could handle more intensity. As you are aware, there are many forms of breath work. There are many practices of breath work. So I will not go deeply into this, but I will differentiate between intensity of moving the breath through the body and a more gentle moving of the breath through the body.